It's a brand new Monday, and it's another opportunity to go once again. It's been a great weekend, a restful weekend, a busy weekend, a weekend full of fun, full of relaxation, and I hope that you have those batteries recharged, and you are ready to tackle what this week has in store for you. It's going to be a beautiful one, a week of amazing things. Splendid things are coming your way, and one of those splendid things is right here on the radio at this point in time, here on Smooth 98.1. This is Freshly Pressed, where we get to take a look at the stories in the papers. We get analysis, and of course, we take your thoughts and your contributions as well. So it is an interactive session. My name is Ayokunmi Kekiriako. Thank you for always keeping it locked here on Smooth 98.1. And you can join us on the show as you always do by sending those messages in on WhatsApp on 0911 Also join us on YouTube. Leave your comments there at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right. Joining me this morning are two absolutely splendid gentlemen to break the stories down for us, give us some context, and make sense of it all. Mr. C and AB Bozimo are with us this morning. Good morning to you, AB.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Mr. C. And good morning to all of the wonderful listeners who I hope will be able to believe the content of some of the stories we're about to talk about.
Good morning, Aya. Good morning, AB. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, virtual listeners. Let's dive into the show.
All right, let's dive right into the show. And as AB said, well, we're really hoping that you'll be able to, fathom some of the discussions we'll have this morning. But I'll leave that to your imaginations. And let's begin this journey in the premium times, Mr. C, and take a look at what's been going on concerning the Constitution review. Well, the National Assembly Joint Committee on the Constitution review has approved the creation of 6 new states, one in each of Nigeria's geopolitical zones, as part of its resolution in the ongoing review of the nation's constitution. It ratified the number of states in the country will rise from 36 to 42, with the Northwest having 8, Northeast, North Central, Southwest, and South South having 7 each, and the Southeast will have 6. Well, this is where we are at the moment. Of course, this talk about new state creation has been one that has gone back and forth at different points in time. But is this really what is needed here? Because according to the story, about 55 proposals for new states actually came through. So is this a question of what the people want, what Nigeria wants? Is this what we actually need going forward?
Okay, so thank you, Aya. So yes, indeed, 55 proposals for new state creation were received by the two committees of the National Assembly during their recent retreat. Now, ostensibly, it would appear on paper that this represents the wishes of the people. However, when you look at our current situation, it's a complete divergence. And it appears as if they do not understand economic realities or the economic implications of having a new state, because it goes beyond having a new governor, a new deputy governor. We're talking about 6 new ministers in the federal cabinet. We're talking about 60 new members of the House of Reps. We're talking about 18 new members of the Senate. We're talking about whole ministries being set up. We're talking about new secretariat buildings being constructed. We're talking about SAs, SSAs, PAs, EAs all being employed. And it goes on and on. So they don't understand it. Now, I refuse to believe that this recommendation is the outcome of any serious deliberation. It sounds more like content creation for me, because really and truly, we have 36 states currently. How many survive without federal allocation every month? How many can pay wages, salaries?
I think according to recent reports done, about 7 states or thereabouts, not up to 10 out
So,
of 36.
anyways, let's educate the listeners on the process. So, first of all, it starts with a formal request signed by at least two-thirds of the elected members of the House of Reps and Senate from the area seeking a new state. Then the proposal must then be approved in a referendum by at least two-thirds of the people living in that area or in the area demanding the new state. Then the referendum must be endorsed by a simple majority of the state houses of assembly. That means at least 19 state houses of assembly have to support it. Then in the Senate, two-thirds majority of the members in each chamber of the National Assembly. That is two-thirds in the House of Reps,
Right.
two-thirds in the Senate. So yes, there's still a lot of hurdles for them to jump, but this is a proposal that should not have seen the light of day. Yes, we understand the political considerations, but from a realistic contemporary understanding of our situation now, this is not the time to be creating new states. But let us hope that with all the hurdles I've listed out, somewhere along the line, this proposal fails.
Maybe.
I'll just say that this kind of demand for states is just symptomatic of utter, total, and absolute leadership and governance failure. Because if people are feeling seen and served by government, I doubt that they will be struggling so much to be quote unquote isolated for better, governance. And I think those in those official offices should look very carefully at themselves. I don't think they will. I'm not holding my breath, but it indicates that they have failed in their duties thus far.
What do you think out there? Do you think that new states is the answer to the question of governance coming closer to the people, or is this another merry-go-round that we really don't need to jump on at this point in time? Once again, let us know your perspective on the matter. Send those messages in on WhatsApp on 0911-999-0981. Leave a comment on YouTube as well, Smooth 981 FM Lagos. If you're just tuning in for the first time, you are most welcome. This is Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast here on Smooth 98.1. All right, Amy, let's talk about our doctors once again. Yes, I know. It feels like we sound like broken records and we're flogging a horse that has been dead for eons. But hey, it is another update. It's in the news once again, so we have to talk about it. We don't really have much of a choice. The Punch is where we're pitching our tent right now, and the Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors, the NARD, has announced a total and indefinite nationwide strike beginning on Friday at 11:59 p.m. Now, this decision means that public hospitals nationwide may experience major service disruptions in the coming days. Now, this decision was reached after a 5-hour emergency National Executive Council meeting that came up on Saturday. So, if we were here once again, back and forth, warning strikes, then called up, demands not fully met. Now there's talk of an indefinite strike to begin on Friday.
Now, I'll say that a number of us listening and participating in the show may not have a day-to-day experience with the public hospitals. In many instances, in fairness, we have made alternative arrangements in private hospitals, but a large proportion of Nigerians do get their medical needs met at public hospitals. And the state of those public hospitals, while there have been efforts by the current administration and past administrations to improve them, is very far from what it ought to be. When our brethren travel abroad to England, they always talk about the NHS. That is their own public hospital system, and it serves the people, albeit supposedly a bit slow, but it gets the job done. Here we have doctors who have given an ultimatum. That time in the ultimatum was the opportunity for those in office, those who are debating extra 55 states, to have taken a look at what the issues are. Now, it wasn't explicitly stated in the story what the issues are, but I know in past stories we've heard about certain allowances for call. Some of these sums are relatively inexpensive, relatively. You hear of a sum like 75,000 naira. It's more about a sense that the doctors have that their needs are not being taken seriously. And then when they contrast it with the fact that just the other day, Wale Edun had something which we all sympathize with him for. He jumped or was put forcefully into a plane, appeared at a gallery event in London, talking, looking good. Because they can jump up and appear in foreign countries and get their healthcare needs, the doctors here see that contrast. They have asked for something. They've given them a month-long ultimatum, nothing. Government officials typically disappear. The Boris Johnson that had COVID, it was in one of their public hospitals. I'm not saying that President Tinubu must go to Ikeja General, but for goodness sake, it would be interesting if President Tinubu had a presidential suite at Abuja General Hospital, wherever that must be. But our government officials typically don't. Even the president of the Senate supposedly made a very fantastic hospital in Akwa Ibom as a governor and jumped abroad once he had I don't know what. And so many of these strikes are more really about lack of trust and faith in government. And government never appears to show or demonstrate a different perspective. I repeat, I would bet you if they put the actual sum that is at stake, it would not be up to lunch bill at the Senate on any given Sunday. But no, we're about to have a strike where ordinary people are about to bear the brunt of malicious ignorance of the doctor's demands. I'm not saying the doctors are all in the right, but I have not seen any overt or publicized effort by the government to state its side and what it is doing, even if it's progressive, to get to the end of this. And so guess what, Nigerians? Stand by for one of the most crippling things. I've said that in no other sphere of life is there an emergency. If a building collapses today, there are two questions I'll ask. Did anybody die? The answer is yes or no. If the answer is yes, it's a medical emergency, no longer an architectural or structural emergency. If the answer is no, I can go there tomorrow. Honestly, the building won't stand up between today and tomorrow. It's only the medical profession that you have actual emergencies. If they take light in your studio, guy, we'll just get off the air. That's all. It's unfortunate. We don't want it to happen, but it's not an emergency. It's only medicine that you will find that a government will continue being deliberately dismissive where there can be emergencies. People are going to be discharged maybe out of when they, before they should be, but that doesn't matter to Nigerian leadership because they will fly abroad like Wale Adun did recently.
Okay, Amy, before we leave this particular story, I remember last week we talked about ASU as well. After their own strike, and then shortly after they called it off, saying that they had been spoken to, and so on. Now, looking at NARD here, what will we make of it if after a few days they come back and say, okay, we've called off the strike because some people have spoken to us as well? What does that say for us and for them going forward? Because that probably would not be the end of the story.
It would mean that government, rather than heeding the warning strike and using the 30 days, has displayed its ineptitude, incompetence, and inconsideration when it comes to administrative matters. There was a warning strike, or was ultimatum? What's the word? There was a warning.
30-day ultimatum, yes.
There was an ultimatum. That was the time when the conversation should have happened, so that the strike announcement should not have gone on. So it won't be about the NARD members, it will be about the government demonstrating its lack of care, concern, and competence.
Alrighty, Mr. C, I'm coming back to your table right now. This is a very interesting morning we're having. The Punch is where we're going back to, and this has to do with matters of security in a way. Now, despite escalating insurgency across the country, no fewer than 500 senior military officials, including major generals, brigadier generals, rear admirals, and air vice marshals, have been forced into early retirement during the changes of service chiefs under the Buhari and Bola Tinubu administrations. Now, the mass retirement spanning the Army, Navy, and Air Force between 2015 and 2023 stemmed from the long-standing military tradition of disengaging senior officers who are neither senior to or of the same course as newly appointed service chiefs. 500 top officers. Well, data from media reports indicate that over 500 top officers have actually quit the services in the past 8 years. That's a lot of service officers to actually leave service, and of course added to the fact that we have new service chiefs in place now. But Mr. C, what do we make of this particular one?
Okay, Thank you, Ayo. So there are a number of things to pick from this story. And the first thing I've chosen to pick is what is the criteria for becoming a general in Nigeria today? Because it's really instructive. Buhari was in office for 8 years. The current president has been there for 2+ years. So that's 10 years. And in 10 years, a country loses 500 generals. Are these kids that we're producing for social media or what? Because you would think that a country that is losing 500 generals would have security under control. Clearly not. Now, two, there is a minimum amount of funding that goes into the training of every military personnel, commissioned officer or non-commissioned officer.
Right.
There are trainings conducted here. There are trainings conducted in other countries like India, like Pakistan, China, America, United Kingdom. No, there's been a habit that we must call out. It is a habit where, in replacing a service chief or a military officer holding a military position, you then pick someone who is way junior, and then the moment you appoint the way junior officer, everyone above him has to retire, whether or not they've gotten to retirement age. Now, there's a reason for training people, whether it's in the public sector, whether it's in the private sector, because the idea is I will train you to this point, and then the output will be exponential with regards to what was put in for the training. So we have situations where we train people for so long, and then they retire before their prime or in their prime. And then guess what? When they retire, what are they doing? Some of them going to security consulting. But the nation has lost the benefit of that collective pool of experience. Now, new service chiefs have come in. And we now have to give them a break because we will be told now that they're coming to terms with the security challenges. They just got into office. They need to settle down and understand what's going on.
Haven't they been following the situation up until this point?
They could have
been. They have been.
Well, it depends on how close they were to the former service chiefs. So if you were in Abuja or you were a commandant of the National Defense Academy, you wouldn't be close to policy making at HQ. So you will need to come in. And let's not forget, when these guys come in, expect a reshuffle of the commanding officers of units around the country. It's going to happen. Now, let's look at the monies that will be paid in terms of pensions and gratuities to the officers, to generals who are leaving service. It is a lot of money, as opposed to what would have happened if we retained them. If they were still in service, all we will be doing now would be paying salaries. Now, ultimately, right? Shouldn't there be some sort of hierarchy within the military, within the army, that everybody knows where they stand in terms of the pecking order? And then when you have to pick a new service chief, you pick from a pool of X rather than go 2 courses down, pick someone and everybody above has to go. And then the people you are bringing up, have they garnered or obtained the requisite experience to deal with the challenges that will be set before them? We haven't fought a war in a very long time, which is a good thing. But again, it could also be a bad thing because now we have generals who qualify via paper. They don't have the necessary experience. You haven't really done any serious work. And that shows in our fight against terror. We're not winning it. They can't think outside the box. So the bigger question now is, how many generals do we have left?
That's a good question.
If 500 have had to go over the past 10 years, how many do we have left? And if these service chiefs, these newly appointed ones, are changed again within the next 2-3 years, how many would we then have?
Your guess is as good as mine at this point. Let me take a message or two. Let me get your thoughts in before we go on to the next story here. Chika, who's in Lekki, says, "Good morning, freshly pressed crew. The proposal for the creation of additional 6 states by the National Assembly is another proof that we are not a serious country. Day in, day out, we've constantly discussed the inability of the majority of the states to run independently. Instead of proposing how to merge some states together for viability, we want to create additional six
Additional six
POS
POS.
that is only duty will be to go and collect federal allocations every month. I actually thought the POS meant something except apart from the actual POS,
Piece
If they
of
want
what?
if they want to address the issue of injustice to the southeast, let them create just one state to get balance up with other zones. All right, Chika, thank you for sharing your thoughts. JP says, morning smooth. Morning to you, JP. The fact that the legislative arm thinks that state creation is the bane now is laughable. How many states are viable? As per the military, it's what it is. If you go across below to pick the number one, his seniors will take a bow. So can sets be followed chronologically? That's a question that is being asked in the studio as well. Tony Marine Beach says, if there's any two major things that's so important to the masses, it's good healthcare and good food. These are not necessarily a milestone for the government to achieve if they really set out to doing so. After all, Ibadan was once a global rallying point in terms of healthcare. But I'm not sure that successive governments are really interested about these going by their dispositions. They're just okay with flying out with simple headaches while they leave their employers at the mercy of ravaging ailments. Huh. Sarah Anturuliri says, on a lighter note, I guess the government is hoping and waiting for well-meaning Nigerians to step in just as they did in the case of ASU. Well, they'll step in and we wonder what exactly they were told that's, got them to call the strike off. Anyways, AB, let's head into the vanguard here. This particular story is developing really well. It's still developing, I can put it that way. Confusion and outrage yesterday enveloped the Oroshoki community in Lagos after more than 70 residential buildings were demolished at the Ajilere Social Extension and Toluwalashe streets, barely days after a Lagos High Court order restrained the state government and its agencies from carrying out any further demolition in the area. I'll bring you in on this one as well, Mr. C. But AB, I mean, what is going on?
You know, Lagos, already as it is, barely has enough housing for everybody. And the key thing in this story for me is the appearance of impunity and disrespect for the rule of law. There are two other major things, but this for me is a key thing. And I know Mr. C will have much more insightful things about that. There's a ruling or some kind of restraining order, and then people come at midnight, which is the second thing, the lack of humanity. You come past or at midnight and begin to demolish the dangers. And trust me, if you're to get that your small tokumbo and drive from one small place, you'll be stopped 50 times. These kind of demolishing equipment do not even drive by themselves. They're normally transported on low loaders. It has government imprimatur at the back of it. So we're talking about, I don't have evidence. I know a lawyer would say, if you don't have the evidence, are you sure it's government? Nobody casually owns bulldozers and just moves them around in the midnight. It's some government sanctioned group. And then the third part that is very, very troubling here, that seems to have a bearing on it, is that this particular 30 odd hectare piece of land has been the subject of dispute between the residents and a certain developer. So it would appear, according to this story, with no evidence in my hands, that government has taken sides with the developer, contrary to the rule of law, to inhumanely dispossess people of their residence. I think everything about this story is tragic, terrible, and utterly, it should be condemnable. So, I mean, as you said, it's a breaking story, but the fact that some people can go ahead and do it, they have not created a fait accompli, because while some lawyers have said they will go back to court, people are homeless, people's lives have been destroyed. And I just think we are all in danger, because it can happen there in Lagos. Yeah, so Warren overlooks the water. It's very prime land, but that doesn't mean it. If people say they don't want to sell, you don't have the right to force them like this. So I'm very, very disturbed about what it implies. That government feels, look, whether there's so that go to court thing means nothing.
Mr. C, I think you should get thoughts in on this particular one, because according to a friend of mine heading to the islands this morning, said there's heavy police presence within that area. I think there were talks about protest or blocking the road or something going on. So, like I said, it's a developing story. But from a legal perspective, what exactly is happening here?
Okay, so thank you, Ayo. So what happened was the landlords and the affected property owners approached the court ostensibly via a motion ex parte, which was granted. Now, under the rules of the Lagos State High Court civil procedure, right? Under the Lagos State High Court civil procedure rules, an interim order lasts for 7 days in the first instance, and then can be extended for another period of 7 days maximum, or any other period as the court fits, as the court sees fit. Now, the court directed that they serve the Lagos state government and its agencies. I don't know if that was done, right?
Right.
But it is clear the interim order had not lapsed. Now, I read in another newspaper, not this one, that Lagos State and Lagos State government official confirmed they were the ones behind the demolitions, but that everything was done properly.
At
Now,
1 a.m.
I disagree with that, because the mere fact that that interim order had been given, it's not been 7 days yet. So there was no rush, there was no hurry, there was no life or death situation. And then the timing of the demolition is criminal. I'm sorry. It is truly criminal.
And cruel.
It's criminal, it's wicked, it's completely lacking compassion. And the sad thing is, nobody will be held to account for this. It then calls into question, why do we have courts if their orders will not be obeyed?
Honestly.
And like AB said, a private citizen cannot do this, but it's good that they've admitted they did it. Now, what's the rush? Now, the people want to protest today. That's why the police is there.
Mm.
Because if you know you did the right thing, why are you putting police there? Because what is clear is they want to turn that place into another banana island or Atlantic.
Yeah, overlooking the water and everything.
Yes. But they need to get the people out. And the people do not want to sell. So if the people don't want to sell at the prices you've offered, what does that tell you? Make them offers they cannot reject, they cannot walk away from. So let's say, for example, a standard plot there, a compound is 100 now. You know they're not going to walk away for 150. Offer them 600, 1,000.
If it's that valuable to you.
Yes. And then two, we keep on with, we're not being conscious of the environment. Every natural waterway is being blocked, is being reclaimed for property. Then when it rains and half of the state is submerged underwater, we all act surprised and confused.
And you just wonder.
And this is the state that says or pretends it wants to be a global city. This is a country that says it's going to grow $1 trillion economy within the next 5 years. And there's no respect for law and order. And you want investors who are mad to come down here and invest.
It's just cruel.
We're not a serious country. I'm sorry.
Let me take your messages. Let me just take your messages, because at this point in time, there was one here that actually made me laugh. I think I'll get to it. Yes, it's from Michael. Michael says, freshly pressed, you need popcorn to listen to the news these days. The horror, comedy, thriller, and supernatural news. Better than any streaming platform. That made me smile a little bit, because really and truly, I just wonder how we get through some of these stories every single day. Ajayi Olunilua, who is in Magodo Jerry Sherry, says, good morning, Ayokunmi, and the two fine gentlemen in the house. Good morning to you, sir. Creating new states may not be our priority, but there are still large ungoverned spaces in the country where governance must be brought closer to the people. It's not only economic viability that determines the creation of new states, and the concerns that most of the states are unable to pay salaries can be resolved if the obnoxious power of collecting states and local governments allocations is removed from our rampaging governors. Hasn't that been taken out already? In theory, by the Supreme Court? Well, here we are still talking about that. Fabian Inekwe says, morning, everyone. What would it take for the Minister of Health to put on his thinking cap, sit with relevant stakeholders in the healthcare sector, and discuss towards a lasting solution? Questions. The military is still uh, grappling with the loss of experienced generals, admirals, and senior officers. Other countries are increasing the retirement age so that experienced and older people can still give service. Nigeria, we hail thee. We hail thee indeed. Ayo from Amo says, please, I just want to know, are these representatives not supposed to be representing the people who elected them? Elected them. I'm trying to make sense of.
The people have ignored that word.
Right. How come the people have a different view for state creation and the House of Representatives have another? Now, well, they said they had 55 proposals for state creation. So, I mean, that's what they told us, really and truly. Joseph Mania in Silver State in Egypt says, is it not a ticking time bomb waiting to explode? How long will taxpayers' money be continuously be used to train military men to general status? Now, every president appoints a junior officer, then sacks all experienced officers, which they have to properly settle with scarce resources. The bomb is, what job will these very young retired generals be doing? May God help us. May God help us indeed. Tayo Najas says, Lagos will tell you to come with your investment and guarantee and will still come and clear it in the middle of the night. That equipment didn't move around without aid. Affidavit of
Definitely not.
urgency in the mud. And I saw a comment here on YouTube. This is from Emmanuel, who says, as it is, it appears that it's only the legislators that have not gone on strike in Nigeria. They should kindly spread their best practices to other aspects of government. And this is from Wemi, who says they even demolished buildings overnight with people still in them. How
Honestly,
inhumane.
honestly,
Well, this is the reality that we are living in at the moment. A crazy reality, if I can put it that way. And I will say that anyone who has any updates concerning happenings around the Uroshuki area should please send a message to us on WhatsApp and keep us up to date with what is happening over there. Once again, the WhatsApp number is 0911 999 0981. Thank you all for all the messages and the interactions. Very much appreciated. Big thank you to you, Mr. C, and of course to you, AB, for making it a great start to our Monday morning. AB.
a great start with some unfortunate stories. As I said, you look at this, you think of the people who went to bed the night before and woke up lives devastated. It could be any one of us. And that's why we must all be vigilant, concerned, and invested. Trust me, it's a new story to us today. It could be our lived experience. We must and can do better as a nation. There's nothing lacking, nothing missing, except a rapacious, rambunctious, and disrespectful ruling class. They are not leading us anywhere. They are ruling over us.
All right, Mr. C.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, AB. And Lagos, let's resist this demolition. Yes, it's happened, but let's all come out and speak strongly against the way it was done. I'm not saying the Lagos state government has no power to demolish buildings, but you have to follow due process. This clearly was not done, and people must be made to render accounts for what has happened. They cannot go scot-free. This is one incident too many.
One incident too many, and we will be keeping our eyes locked on that to see how it all plays out and bring you updates as soon as we get them. Thank you all once again for keeping it tuned to the show Freshly Pressed. The Smooth Breakfast, of course, is kicking on. It's going to be all about sports at 8:15 in the locker room. And once again, I definitely can carry my shoulders high in the air. For those of a London Blue persuasion, we shall see at 8:15. Don't go anywhere.